Good evening. This is Rudy Giuliani. This is the Rudy Giuliani Show. And I think we can cover all the most important topics of the day just by covering his cabinet meeting. Yes, it was a cabinet meeting, but it was also, you call it a lot of things. It was a cabinet meeting. It was an opportunity for his cabinet secretaries to bring us and him up to date, probably us. He probably knows all that. It's fascinating that he allows such access to his cabinet meetings. I don't know that any other president's ever done that. It's great for the American people to see that their government is working, that these people are engaged, that they don't have to read from teleprompters like, Biden and Obama did. Biden used to read from a teleprompter too. Obama. People all think, Obama was this great genius. You ever listen to him without a script? It's about, every sentence is about, not every sentence, but every 1 minute. I once timed it. It's about 20 to 30. Give him a thing to read, and then he's a good actor. These guys weren't reading. These guys, they have what they call brains. And I have an extraordinarily capable cabinet. And if you can't see that, you really are prejudiced. They were all. By doing that, I used to have a major cabinet meeting every month. Then I'd have smaller the city has 50 commissioners. Then I would have every day I'd have certain commissioners on a rotating basis, and then we'd have committees that covered subjects. But one of the good things about bringing your commissioners, that's what we call them in New York City, or your cabinet secretaries in is. And not that they're not great people, but it makes them work. If they got to come see the boss and make a presentation, they have to become aware. It's got to be in their head, not just the deputy or the deputy's deputy or some 29-year-old kid out of college, a 24-year-old kid out of college. Each one of those guys had a show and tell. They had to present on the major issue of the day. The other thing it was like a news show. He covered every major topic I'd say 2/3 of the major topics that would be on your mind right now in the course of his discussion, the discussion with the cabinet members, the discussion with the press. So we'll kind of use his outline and go through it and give you our observations on it and some of the background information on it. This, I think, was his 7th cabinet meeting, which is more than Biden had in 4 years. This was his third one, at least, that had major openness to the press. It was by far his longest. His longest one up until now, I think, had been the last one. The last one was about 2 hours. This one went altogether for about 3. 3 hours and 17 minutes to be exact, if you count the Q&A after. And as I said, I don't think government's ever been this open. Even the legitimate and good presidencies weren't this open, like Reagan. Reagan actually governed with cabinet committees. He had 4 or 6. So that you didn't have to bring everybody together. So there'd be one on foreign policy, one on domestic policy, one on agriculture, one on, and then you'd bring in and here's the interesting thing, there were 6 actually. The Attorney General was the only cabinet member, except for the Vice President, that was a member of all. Because they're all strangled with laws and regulations. And they need not just the Attorney General himself or herself, but the resources of the Justice Department. There's an office in the Justice Department known as the Office of Legal Counsel. When I was third-ranking official, that was Ted Olson, who I think you probably all know. And Ted was the person who gave legal opinions to the rest of the government. So if I'm Bobby Kennedy and we need a legal opinion on whether his agency or subdivision of it can do something, you would have the lawyer in that agency, let's say Marty McCary, He would go to his lawyer. He would get an opinion. Then you get an opinion from HHS. And then if you wanted to be safe, you'd go to the Office of Legal Counsel and get really a letter that laid out their view of what the law was. For example, the position that a president cannot be indicted while he is in office is laid out in two studies, two memoranda of the Office of Legal Counsel. One of them, Bill Clinton's Justice Department, I believe the other, George Bush. So it carries a great deal of weight because it's bipartisan. You've got both Republican and Democrat. So today's, it's really hard to, well, we're not going to cover everything in the press conference, in the cabinet, because if we did, we'd be here until the morning hours or something. It was enormously fascinating to listen to, even though, I spent a great deal of time in that room. First, when Ronald Reagan was president, not as much, and then when he was president, very often. I mean, that's not used all the time. Myself and Jay and some of the other lawyers that were working for him would sit there and do our work there, because this way we'd have access to him, particularly when we had to get a document in or discovery, or so he would give us that room because it was used maybe 2 or 3 times a week, and then we would clear out and go upstairs. And now it's been remodeled, and I'm really anxious to see it. A great deal has been done to it. It doesn't even look the same. I'm sure it's the same desk. Somehow it seems a little narrower to me, Ted. The desk does. It has to be the same. That's too big a desk to do a new desk. A table, rather.
Right.
It's fascinating to go in there when they're not there, because it's very, I wouldn't say spooky, but austere. Austere would be the word.
Yeah.
When nobody's there, and you can walk and you can see all their names. The back of the chair has a little plaque that says, Peter Hegseth, Secretary of Defense, soon to be Secretary of War, I guess, huh?
Yeah,
I wonder how
the old days.
I bet Pete likes that.
Just like the old days.
I know Pete's saying to himself, that's right. The best defense is a good offense.
Right.
Just like in football.
Right. Right. What a great Mayor. I wonder, you look at this, the table there. Who else is there beyond the cabinet members? It looks like the chief of staff, maybe a couple of staff.
First of all, you got press there. And you probably have White House staff that are recording things. I mean, I'm sure the White House made its own recording of it, if not video, certainly audio. So in that corner there, that looks like press in the back. It is not a very convenient. I mean, that had to be a very crowded room. It wouldn't be a convenient place to have a great number of people observing.
Right.
The cabinet is very big, and so they take up the tables. I don't see too many. Very often, you'll see their aides, like their chief of staff, the attorney general's chief of staff, or maybe the deputy attorney general or the deputy secretary of defense behind them. But that I guess it doesn't make a very good picture, and the room would be too crowded if they did that. But normally, normal cabinet meetings that even I remember, the cabinet secretaries would bring either the number 2 official in the department or number 3 official in the department, one of the undersecretaries or the deputy, or they'd bring their chief of staff, one or the other, because they can keep better track of what's going on. And then there's somebody you can talk the meeting over with afterwards. Then some meetings, of course, were just principals. And some are just certain cabinet members who, they don't all have the same clearances. Some clearances are on a need to know and function basis. It's very, very highly sensitive, classified information. Right. Of course, that wasn't going to be discussed in a public one. So as I said, it was the longest of the cabinet meetings that he's had. No need to really identify all the people that are there. You know who they are, or it's important to know when they do a presentation. But of course, the vice president sitting across from him, I think that's usually the case. I'm trying to think if some presidents would have the vice president next to them. I don't know how they determined the order. Some administrations would do it really sort of in seniority, meaning the seniority of the cabinet position. So the four right around him would be state, defense, treasury, and justice. Those were the four original cabinet members, cabinet departments for George Washington. And usually two of them sat next to him, and we see that they do have the Secretary of Defense, Secretary of State next to him. Now, the question is, do they have Pam Bondi and Besant right across from him? Interesting. So it began at 12:11 in the afternoon, and it went on for 3 hours and 17 minutes. He covered crime in Washington, D.C., the wars in Ukraine and Gaza, the question of whether they're going to be a National Guard deployed elsewhere, his desire to do it, but the limitation that he put on it, that he needs to be requested. And it was during this period of time, both when he was in the Oval Office and in the cabinet room, a very, very nasty reply from the slob in Illinois, who looks like he has like food on his tie. Pritzker, I think, had food on his tie today. He must have spilled his breakfast on him.
Well, on that note, Mayor, let's
jump in. The president, before the cabinet meeting, said that he would not deploy the National Guard, that he would have the power to do it if he declared an emergency, or put them in there for a limited purpose, like protecting the federal agents, like he did with Los Angeles. But he said he would only do it if he was Washington. But the slob replied almost immediately saying, "We don't want him, we don't need him, and it's all political." Now, I don't know how you can lie like that when you see the results they just had in Washington, D.C., and you sure would want, you got to be one stupid, arrogant son of a bitch to turn down help, because it includes, if I'm right about this, ultimately he deployed 500 National Guard and 800 federal agents. Now, those federal agents are probably, well, it depends. The National Guard are certainly good for patrol. I think Washington, D.C. is capable of putting out no more than about 400 to 450 police officers on patrol during any given tour. And that may be a whole day. Well, he put in 500. He almost doubled it. That's one of the reasons crime is down. There was no place to commit a crime if someone wouldn't see you, right? And this is not, D.C. is not New York. I mean, first of all, they don't have the numbers New York has. And sorry, boys, but you're not as good a police department by any stretch of the imagination. And the same thing is true in Chicago. Look at what, over the last 20 to 30 years, New York Police Department has been able to do about crime. And look what the Chicago Police Department hasn't been able to do about crime. Their reductions this year are off a base that's ridiculous. And it doesn't really mean much, as we'll point out a little later. This weekend alone, they had 6 murders. I mean, the weekends are ridiculous in Chicago. If I, the president, I'd offer him the National Guard just for the weekend. Somebody's got to do something about the weekends. I mean, 20, 30 years, the weekend is just a killing field. They got 6 people killed this weekend and 20 wounded. Those are Ukraine numbers. In Ukraine, you could have a week where there were 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 killed, 30, 40 wounded. So the streak of no killings stopped, and at 12 days, which is the first time they've had something like that in, I don't know, 40 years or something. And it happened at 12:25 this morning in Southeast Washington. And it was first a gunshot wound, and then the person died either on the way to the hospital or to the hospital. They haven't put out details of it yet as to exactly what the crime was. And Trump, during the course of the cabinet meeting, again pushed for the death penalty. I don't know, had he announced that before, that he wants D.C. To have a death penalty? D.C. had a death penalty, and of course, in an excess of liberal insanity and loving and caring so much for criminals and having no concern for victims, they did away with it. And then they started setting records for murder. So they're coming down from record highs for murder. And I mean, it's absurd that there's a 6 or 7, even today, to this day, right now, as we speak, in D.C., there's a 6 to 7 times greater chance of being murdered than in New York City, which is, 8 times bigger and a hell of a lot more complicated in terms of the diversity of the population. During the meeting, maybe the question and answer part, the second question he was asked, I mean, to give you an idea of how serious they are, was about Taylor Swift and Kelsey's marriage. And what the heck? That's a question for the president for. You get only about, with him, you get a lot of questions, but still it's limited, 8 or 10? So you ask him about Swift and Kelsey? That was the second question. Just in case, you should know, he said, I wish them a lot of luck. I think he's a great player, and he's a great guy, and I think she's a terrific person. So he wishes them a lot of luck. I think a very classy thing to do, given the fact that, it got a little nasty during the campaign when she came out so strongly for Nitwit.
But we have that. Cut 6. Let's play slot 6.
To ask you a serious question, but I have to tell you the biggest pop culture news of the year broke while we were in this cabinet meeting. Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift are engaged, and the world wants your reaction, sir.
Well, I wish him a lot of luck. I think he's a great player. I think he's a great guy, and I think that she's a terrific person. So I wish them a lot of luck.
We put up, I think that was done during the campaign. Having been through my own campaigns a number of times, I can tell you the pressure of the campaign, the emotion of it, the competitiveness of it will lead you to say things that you regret and you wish you had put it a little differently or hadn't been as angry. I don't know. I think there's only one person that I bear strong feelings about from the campaign. It wasn't one of my opponents. It was Charlie Crist, who was just a straight out and out liar. And I think if you check with Mike Huckabee or certainly Romney, or when he was alive, John McCain, it was one of the things we all agreed on. And of course, I was very instrumental in helping him get defeated several times, including by Rubio, and I was the second person to endorse Marco Rubio when he was behind Charlie by about 18 points. But other than, and really, it isn't. It's not even personal. It's government. The man is too much of a man of no character to be in government. I mean, he's been a Republican, he's been a Democrat, been an independent, and mostly he's been a major nihilist and narcissistic liar. So Trump, during the course of the cabinet meeting, called on a journalist who's affiliate with the Epoch Times, Iris Tao, because she herself has been the victim of crime in Washington, D.C., and really to express the feelings of most of the people that live in Washington. Even though, they're all Democrats, 90%, and they're all against him because he's, it'd be better if he didn't save their lives. I mean, it's absurd. And the lives that he saved, if you consider that in that period of time, go figure out what the murder rate was for the year, there'd be 4, 5, 6 people dead. If it happened like it's happened for the last 10 years, 90% of them would be black. So let's say he saved 8 lives by the omnipresence of police, agents, and National Guard. So with 8, then easily 6 were black people. So this idea that it's racist, it's just the opposite. It's for the benefit of the black community, because they are tragically, and for a lot of reasons that I think you all know in terms of the history of all this, there tends to be in these Democrat cities pockets of people that were left behind on purpose by the Democrats. But let's see if we have the soundbite.
We do. That should.
With Iris Tao.
Right.
I want to mention, about crime, because we have a young lady here, Iris, of Epoch Times. You're Iris, aren't you, huh? And I heard you were very savagely mugged in the city, and we're not going to let that happen under this administration. That was last year. And would you like to mention what happened?
Of course. So first of all, thank you, Mr. President.
You want to listen to this?
For having me here to share my story to the room and to the broader public. My name is Iris Tao. I'm a White House correspondent for NTD, the sister media of the Epoch Times. So more than 2 years ago, it was a Saturday morning in broad daylight. I was on my way to work, and a young man with a black ski mask pointed a gun at my face and threatened me to hand over my phone, my wallet, my laptop, and everything else. And when I refused, he used the butt of his handgun to strike me across the face, in the cheek, or what some people call pistol whip me.
Wow.
And the people that say, like Schumer, that it's safe. I mean, I know Chuck Schumer forever, when he was a member of the New York Assembly, and when Weiner was his chief of staff. Can you believe that? I describe Weiner as Schumer with no personality, or less personality, which gets you into minus numbers. And of course, he's a lot weirder. But the reality is Schumer has a security detail. It's a little ridiculous for him to be saying he finds it very safe walking around D.C. He got a couple of people around him that can blow your brains out. It's like when I was mayor. If I said, I really felt very safe walking around the city. I had 4 cops with me all the time. They're such liars. I don't understand it. Look, I was in public life more of my life than I was in private law practice or business. It didn't make me I didn't make me a liar. I still felt I was required to tell the truth. If I were to try to compare myself to a regular citizen when I was mayor, I'd be embarrassed. They got to walk around without any protection. I got the New York City Police Department to protect me. He's got. I don't know who they use, the Capitol Police or whatever, whoever they use for security. Covering him for security also has to be really unpleasant, because he's not a really pleasant person. But I'm sure they do it because they're professional. So I should also mention, it's an opportunity to mention the Epoch Times. I mean, that's a terrific website. Online, it's terrific. I read it every day. I go through it. I went through it today for today's show, and just to be generally informed. It's probably got the best coverage of China of any American publication. You'd have to go to, Chinese publications in Hong Kong and elsewhere to have equal information about China. And then it's just generally good. It's a very, very well done, very high level. It's what people used to think the New York Times was, or the Wall Street Journal. They are not anything like that now. They're basically highly emotional, very prejudiced, write articles for attention and money, but not seeking the truth. I mean, there seems to be absolutely no connection to the truth. So Scott Bessent spoke about the whole situation with the, well, sort of in general, about the situation with the Federal Reserve. And then the president said that he'd be willing to deploy the National Guard to Chicago if the governor or I guess the mayor could also request too. But I mean, the mayor, I think, has a hard time probably knowing how to make the phone call. Somebody made a great comment. Who was? It was on Newsmax.
Yeah, right.
Who was it? Joe? Was it Joe?
Oh, no.
What was the comment?
Well, the comment was that somehow in these Democrat cities, they always seem to find the dumbest citizens.
Oh, Rob Schmidt. Yeah, Rob Schmidt.
Oh, Rob Schmidt.
Yeah.
All right, okay. It was a great comment.
Right.
And he delivered it really much better than
yeah.
I just did. I mean, Ted and I, we just fell down laughing.
We did. That was good.
I mean, he said, it's really amazing in these cities, they seem to find the dumbest person in the city to be mayor.
Yeah.
And thinking about de Blasio, who now could be challenged for worst mayor of New York City with the communists coming along, who also was a big dope. Can you imagine? He couldn't lift 135 pounds. Okay, he's a sissy boy. We know he's a sissy boy. He grew up as a privileged rich kid who pretends to be a communist. Well, maybe he is a communist because all the leadership of the communist and socialist organizations are very rich because they steal like crazy because they have no morality. I mean, Marx was against the idea of any kind of morality.
Right.
Because it would hold back to the growth of communism. You got to understand what a sick man Karl Marx was. He also, at various times, went through a whole Satan period in his life, but that's a different story. So, I have no idea how they take some of the positions that they take. But in any event, the president today. During the press conference and during the cabinet meeting, which is sort of connected to each other, did make an interesting prediction. He said you're going to see job figures going through the roof. Now, I don't know if that was fairly long-term prediction of the growth of the economy, which I agree with, because I think as the impact of the tax reductions, which I'm not sure if they're I'm not actually sure if they're actually in effect yet, but they will be for the year. So in other words, you sort of square up this year at the end of the year. And by the end of the year, you'll be able to be relieved. If you have tips, you'll be able to relieve the taxes on that. You're going to be relieved of some of the taxes on your Social Security if you're a person collecting Social Security. And if you're getting a reasonable amount of Social Security, you're going to get to keep all of it without any taxes. And then a number of other things. I mean, the tax rates. The tax rates actually, a lot of them remained the same, but some came down, and there were extra benefits for the middle class. I mean, for example, the idea. I tell you, Democrats lie about everything. So you know what they said, right? All of the Trump tax cuts are for rich people. Now, isn't that ridiculous? What were the major ones of the new ones? Not the ones carried over also were significant for poor and middle class people. In fact, when they went into effect in his first term, there had never been such a jump in wages for Black, Hispanics, and poor people, ever. And that was not only the tax cuts, it was the regulatory cuts and the general growth of the economy. And I predict that's going to happen again, particularly with cleaning out a lot of the illegals. There'll be a lot more jobs available. And a lot more of an opportunity to get people to push them a little bit off welfare by doing workfare like I did. I mean, I'm sure for city or state, I probably have the record in terms of numbers of getting them off welfare and onto workfare, and not just off welfare, but into a job. And sometimes they've lost the work ethic people have.
Yeah.
And it is charitable and wonderful and nice if you can give it back to them. But isn't that what you would do for your relative?
It's a gift.
I mean, I think when we think of social policy, we have to think of what will we do for a brother or sister, which is why we never let them live on the street. And the whole idea of homeless people living on the street is sick. It's a sick, vicious, mean idea. You got to be a heartless person to be mayor of a city and go around and watch more and more people living on the street and not do anything about it. And that's what I wrote about de Blasio after 2 years of being mayor. That if you love people, you can't go to sleep at night if there are people living on the streets. But these people don't care about people. They're ideologues, and they're really strange people. They're not like normal. He also said that there was no inflation, but that was what he really means is it's low inflation. We have inflation at less than was predicted. It's at like 2.7, 2.8. They thought he couldn't do better right now than 3%, and he's doing better than was predicted. It's lower than it was under Numbskull, but that's to compare yourself to the worst president in the history of this country is because it's a little ridiculous. It's like what D.C. is doing with, crime is down. Yeah, and if you go from New York to D.C., there's a 7 times greater chance you'll get killed. Oh, that's really good, Mayor Bowser and police chief who has no police. 400 cops out during the day in D.C., where you've got 5, 6, 7 times greater chance of being victimized by crime than in New York? What are you, crazy? Of course you need the National Guard, jerk. Do you know anything about policing? There's nothing more effective to stop the most obvious crimes than police patrol. You want to call it community policing? I don't know, call it whatever you want. You put enough cops in the neighborhood, you're going to cut crime down. You're not going to cut it out, you're going to cut it down. It's one of a group of 5 or 6 strategies you would use to deal with street crime. And if you can't bring down street crime, you should resign. Now, if you can't bring down crime that's happening behind closed doors, that's a little different. That's a little tougher. You need a little more intelligence, you need a little more experience. But street crime is patrol, effective patrol. Oh, by the way, stop and frisk helps a lot too. Stop, question, and frisk, done the right way under Terry versus the United States. Stop and frisk helps a lot too. Stop, question, the right way. The United and Rubio, I don't know if we have the picture of this, but there was a point in the cabinet thing where he and Rubio are looking up. I don't know what it looks like. They were looking at an angel or something. They look it up like this at the ceiling. I'm really dying to see that ceiling. I wonder if there's any picture. Did anybody in the press think to take like a shot of the cabinet room? I haven't been there. I haven't been inside that room, the cabinet room, since the last time he was president. So I don't know what it looks like right now. And I was kind of surprised. It looks different, even from the television aspect of it. So I guess one of the major controversies that he talked about, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the effort to remove Governor Cook, Lisa Cook, from the Fed because the cause being mortgage fraud, which of course the Democrats and the suck-up professors are all saying really to me. I mean, it's okay if she does fraud. I mean, if she's a Democrat, it's okay if she claims that she has 2 primary residences so she can get benefits that you get for 1 primary residence. She can get it twice because she's a member of the Washington elite and she's a Democrat and they can commit crimes. So we'll be right back.
Welcome to Vocal, the free speech social app that gives you a platform to amplify your voice, speak freely, connect boldly, and be part of a growing movement for truth, faith, and freedom. Want to know what's happening right now? The Now Playing feature shows you exactly who's live and what's streaming in real time. Check out the show's feed, a non-stop lineup including LindellTV News 24/7, shows and on-demand programming all in one place. Connect with your favorite host and never miss a show. Explore the featured page for quick access to LindellTV's top shows. Follow your favorites and watch their newest content flow right into your feed. And when they go live on Vocal, you can join the live chat and be part of the action. Ask questions, share your thoughts, even help shape future shows. Stay informed on issues around securing our elections by following your state's Cause of America account. Join a group and connect on a deeper level, from faith and freedom to the future of our nation. Go to vocal.com or download the app today and be a part of the mission to save our country.
Too many pharmacies and insurance companies are blocking the medications that actually work. That's why I recommend All Family Pharmacy. They give you access to treatments like ivermectin now, starting at just $2 a capsule. They also have methylene blue, hydroxychloroquine, and so much more. They're helping you stay prepared, and they've dropped their prices by 25%. Also use promo code LindellTV, you save even more. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Lindell, use promo code LindellTV, and get the medicine you need. If you want to drop extra pounds, boost energy levels, and reduce swelling in your legs and feet, then this message is for you. Pure Health Research is on a mission to make America healthy again, and 2 of their best-selling health supplements are leading the way. First is Liver Health Formula. Over 100 million Americans have a sluggish liver that's riddled with fatty deposits. This can kill your metabolism, pile on the pounds, and make you feel tired. Liver Health Formula takes care of that. It supports thriving liver health with special nutrients like artichoke extract and milk thistle. This is one of the easiest ways to slim down and revitalize your energy levels. Next is lymph system support. If you struggle with fluid buildup or swelling in your legs, ankles, and feet, this is for you. The natural ingredients in lymph system support help gently flush away extra fluid and toxins out of your body. And right now, for a limited time, you can get 35% off Liver Health Formula and Lymph System Support, along with 50+ other health supplements that Pure Health Research has to offer. So head over to purehealthresearch.com and use promo code Lindell at checkout. That's purehealthresearch.com, promo code Lindell to save 35% on your order today. With everybody talking about making America healthy again, I thought today'd be a great day to talk to all my fellow patriots about the importance of making your homes healthy again. Well, we have proudly partnered with airwaterhealing.com and their revolutionary whole home air purification system. The V3 from Air Water Healing does 3,000 square feet of purification. It eliminates dust, mold, viruses, and odors. But here's the part I love. They require no filters to ever be changed and virtually no maintenance. Whether you suffer from asthma, allergies, seasonal bronchitis, or just want to protect your family from the flu or even greater threats, don't wait to get your V3 from airwaterhealing.com today. Use code Lindell for 20% off in savings and free shipping. That's promo code Lindell at airwaterhealing.com.
You have spoken out very strongly for a long time about what you see as the weaponization of government.
Yeah.
Is your administration weaponizing government by digging into the mortgage records of officials you don't like?
No, they're public. I mean, you can find out those records. You can go check out the records yourself. And you should be doing that job, actually. You wouldn't do that because that's not the kind of reporter you are. But you should be doing that job. I shouldn't have to be doing it. if you did your job properly, we wouldn't have problems like Lisa Cook. Go ahead, you were going to say something?
So would you be trying
Go.
to fire
Blue?
Lisa Cook if she had voted to lower interest rates?
On national
Please.
security.
I think we have.
You know, this is completely absurd, this whole thing about Lisa Cook and Attorney General James and Shifty Schiff. It's just straightened out dishonest to claim two residences. So this law professor, who should be fired from Cornell, was quoted in, I don't know which publication this is. His name is Robert Hockett. Don't know him. He's from Cornell Law School, which is a very good law school. One of my very closest friends went to Cornell Law School. In fact, he eventually became a federal judge. But Robert Hockett, a law professor at Cornell, thinks that the fact that she lied on her mortgage applications is not enough cause to throw her out, because she did it before she became a governor of the Fed. In other words, if you cheat and lie before, that's okay. You can be you can be on the Federal Reserve Board and have enormous power over our economy, and also be in a position to really enrich yourself, which we'll never know if you did or not if you have a reputation of being a damn liar, which she does. I mean, you don't have to be a lawyer to know if they say primary residence, they mean one. And most applications tell you that. Now, here's the stupid thing this guy said, which is why a lot of the lawyers that come out of law school now are really stupid. It's because the law professors are stupid. Robert Hockett is stupid, because this is a stupid explanation. After Hockett said, Trump has found yet another pretext on which to attempt to remove a federal governor from office. It's not a pretext. It's called a crime, jackass. And having failed in trying that strategy with Chair Powell, apparently thinks he's found a softer target in Governor Cook. He sure has, because she committed a crime. The first African-American woman to serve on the Fed board, which is really a sign of your mental weakness that you use that. How is her being African-American an explanation for her claiming two primary residences? Unless you are a suck-ass, which you are. No really thoroughgoing lawyer, a person really trained in the law, is going to argue that he should use a different standard for the first African-American woman. I mean, isn't that the thing that's wrong with us, jerk off? And isn't that wrong with the way you educate our students? Well, how about this one? This is really amazing. Hockett also thinks Cook's mortgage allegations are explainable. In other words, her inconsistent lying statements. As anyone with as checkered a history in real estate as Trump will know, ridiculously cheap shot, since the fraud he was accused of, no one relied on it, no one lost money on it, and actually they made money on it and were perfectly happy with it. Someone's having two primary residences between which to commute is no closer to that than is a family having two cars. So if you say you have two residences, it's like you say you have two cars. Here's the difference. On having two cars, you don't make any money. If you say you have two primary residences, you cheat. You cheat one of the states, if not both, out of the proper amount of tax revenue, because they give you a deduction and a lower tax rate because it's a primary residence. So you're cheating the state where you don't have a primary residence. And since we don't know which one was a primary residence, she's in essence cheating both states out of a substantially larger amount of tax. That's called tax evasion, jackass. And you're teaching law students, Hockett? Now, how about the second one? It's like claiming two cars, which has no impact. You can have 10 cars, it doesn't matter. The second thing that you get is a lower interest rate. You get a much lower interest rate because it's a primary residence as opposed to a secondary residence. So you could have a difference of 4% or 7%. That's over 20 years. That's a lot of money. That's why they're sniveling little crooks. Her, James, and Shifty Schiff, if it's true. This is all based on whether it's true. Now, we have the documents. It looks like it's true, but it's got to be proved, under maybe if there's something wrong with the documents, then come forward and tell us. But it sounds like she's admitting she claimed 2 primary residences. That's okay. It's like claiming 2 cars. Except you don't save thousands and thousands of dollars and cheat somebody out of thousands in tax revenue, or cheat the lender out of the proper interest rate. And I mean, whether you get convicted of a crime or not, you can hold a public office if you're that kind of a sniveling little cheap liar. Of course you should be gone. And the fact that she's African-American, Italian-American, German-American, Irish-American, or American-American doesn't mean a damn thing, excuse me. And that's what's wrong with you, Hockett. The worst thing you did, first of all, maybe you're too stupid to realize there's a difference between 2 cars and saying you have 2 primary residences. Because there's no economic benefit and there's no cheating of anyone if you put down you have 2 cars or 10 cars. Number 2, it's inherently dishonest because these things are contradictory. And this is supposed to be an intelligent woman. At least it shows she's too damn irresponsible to be on the Fed. Now, whether that's Trump is using that for a benefit to get an appointment or not, of course that happens all the time when somebody does something like this and they get thrown out of office. That's what happens when you're a crook and you get thrown out of office. And then you get articles like, not the first time Trump has accused opponents of mortgage fraud. First of all, Trump isn't accusing them. Now, the accusation against her came from one of the housing authorities. Number 2, it's really a question whether it's true or not, not whether he's accusing them. Has anyone said it's not true? Have any of these people said it's not true that I claim 2 primary residences? I haven't heard that. She's virtually admitted it. They virtually admitted it. And then they point out that there are some Republicans like this too. Well, then they should be treated the same way. I mean, you're going to tell me the Republicans are treated in a benefit? You can't tell me that. What they did to me, you can't tell me that we get the benefit of the doubt. We get persecuted. If I had claimed 2 residences, they'd put me in jail for 50 years. The FBI would have actually had a case as opposed to raiding my apartment, raiding my law office, and a year and a half later telling the grand jury there was no evidence I committed a crime. But there was evidence to get a search warrant to come and raid my house, my law office, and ruin my law practice and get me disbarred. The letter asking that she be investigated says that Cook obtained a mortgage on a Michigan home and certified she would use it as a principal residence. And then 2 weeks later, she purchased a condo and said that she would use that as a principal residence. And that entitled her to a much lower interest rate on her mortgage. It could also entitle to, we don't know if she did it, a lower down payment. And it entitled her to beneficial tax treatment, a lower tax rate in both places, when she was only entitled to a lower tax rate and the beneficial treatment on interest and deposit. It entitled her to beneficial tax treatment places, to a lower and deposit. It's a cheat. Now, whether it's a significant amount of money or not, I don't know. The more years that this went on, the more it would be. But in terms of removing of that would be important to determine how much it was, how long it went on, to exercise prosecutorial discretion to determine whether to prosecute her. But to throw her out of a government job, I mean, if that's true, and I qualify with that's true, they'd throw her right out. And anybody that says, well, we shouldn't throw her out because she's the first African-American, there's something wrong with you. You are then part of the problem that this country has right now rather than the solution. So the president offered Chicago the National Guard, and Chicago, in a very, very nasty way, the complete slob who is the governor of, who has been an awful governor in Illinois, turned it down. I don't know if we have a soundbite from Fatso.
We're very pleased about the progress that we're making. I know that I live rent-free in the president's head, and I wish he would spend some time in Chicago so that he could see what a lovely city we have.
Governor, quick follow-up. What do you do if the National Guard is active?
Let's play that again, Mayor. Listen, it's kind of funny. Listen to the governor and his words, and then what the camera does. Let's play it again.
We're very pleased about the progress that we're making. I know that I live rent-free in the president's head, and I wish he would spend some time in Chicago so that he could see what a lovely city we have.
Governor, quick follow-up. What do you do if the National Guard is active?
What's wrong with having a hotel there? It's a beautiful hotel, by the way.
Right.
One of the, I mean, Chicago's a great city, by the way. And probably there are two people, aside from President Bush, that I really feel I owe a lot because of how they helped New York out after September 11th. And one of them is Mayor Daley of Chicago. I have great affection for Chicago. I have tremendous affection for the Chicago Police Department with the little things on their hat, you know, because Mayor Daley sent me like a couple hundred police officers after September 11th, and Governor Bush of Florida. A lot of them, like Governor Keating of Oklahoma, sent us people, but they were among the two that really did the most for us. I have great affection for that city, and I've stayed in that hotel many, many times, and I pay, but I like the hotel, and I don't know what he was complaining about with the hotel. It's a great investment for his city. And you got to stop playing politics, Fatso, with stuff like that. I mean, I had a Democrat president when I was mayor of my city, and I got along with Clinton. I criticized him at times when I disagreed with him. On Arafat, I thought he was terribly wrong. And I think he's the architect of a lot of our problems in the Middle East because of supporting and promulgating the two-state solution. I think he was terribly negligent and helped to create the circumstances with bin Laden that made him think he could attack us with no consequences. I mean, it was almost a Chamberlain-like approach to bin Laden, which is the typical approach of the people in your party. But still, I work with him because it was to the benefit of my city. Because I'm not a selfish freaking slob like you are, where you don't really care about your city. It's ridiculous for you to turn down additional help in a city that last weekend had 6 people shot and killed and 20 wounded over a weekend. Over a weekend. You know, I never understood with Mayor Daley, that the son, who was a really good mayor, why he didn't get crime down more. I don't understand what it is with you guys in Chicago that for 20, 30, 40 years, your crime rate not only has been high, even with the reduction now, but this weekend thing. Weekend, you're like a damn war zone. Last weekend, you want to live in a place where 6 people are killed on the weekend and 20 people wounded? And have a slob like that as your governor? And then the mayor, as Rob said, they picked the dumbest guy in Chicago and made him mayor. They had a pretty dumb one before with Lightface. Remember her?
Oh, yeah.
Beetlejuice.
Did she put her finger in a socket?
Wait,
Yeah.
That's the perfect. I mean, there's got to be a.
So Trump said today, I'll wait for a request from Pritzker. And Fatso comes on and is that disrespectful to the president.
That's the opposite of
Now,
leadership.
and you notice the president treats these people with respect until they become idiots. I thought it was, I mean, he actually said, I really think the guy is a jackass, a jerk, and a terrible governor, but that wouldn't stop me from helping him with Chicago. So Chicago, I mean, if you think it really is a safe city because it has 266 murders this year, which is per capita 7 times more than New York, then God bless you. I mean, you don't really care if your people get killed. And that's with the reduction from the year before. But what they don't tell you is the year before was like astronomical. And who knows if you collect the statistics accurately? Who the hell knows? I know we did, because I didn't use these statistics to put them out and show how I was reducing crime and outrage. I used these statistics for tactical reasons. I used these statistics as a management tool. I co-invented with Commissioner Maple, who worked for Bill Bratton, and to some extent Bill, but Maple was the real guy that I work with. And so, I mean, and if you think this was just a passing thing, I've been working on crime statistics for 12 years before I did this. So there's nobody in America that knows this program better than I do. And these numbers are terrible. And your citizens are in trouble, and stop acting like a corrupt jackass. So with that thought, we're going to ask you to pray for the usual Ukraine, Israel, Iran, and special prayers for the people in Chicago and Illinois has got to live under those two idiots. More people die as a result of that. You see all the people that Trump saved, the lives he saved in just that 12-day period. Well, God bless you, and God bless America.